What if the sweet treat you love the most could secretly be harming you? What if every bite of your favorite chocolate bar, the one you keep in your desk drawer, the one you give to kids during Halloween, or even the one you eat thinking it's healthy dark chocolate, is hiding something toxic? Could it be possible that some of the world's most famous chocolate brands are quietly laced with dangerous heavy metals like lead and cadmium? And if that's true, why didn't we know earlier? Why didn't the companies tell us? And what does it mean for millions of people who eat chocolate every single day? Stay with me till the very end of this video, because today we're uncovering 7 popular chocolate brands that might not be as innocent as they seem. What you're about to hear could completely change the way you look at that shiny wrapper in your hand. Welcome to BizWorld Explorer, the channel where we reveal the hidden truths behind the world's most popular brands and products. Chocolate is more than food. It's culture, it's memory, it's comfort. From birthday parties to romantic gifts, it's always there, promising joy and sweetness. But beneath that smooth surface lies a troubling reality. In 2025, several reports, including investigations by Consumer Reports and independent food safety labs, exposed shocking levels of lead and cadmium in chocolate products. Both of these heavy metals are dangerous, especially when consumed regularly over time. Lead can damage the brain, nervous system, and is particularly harmful for children. Cadmium accumulates in the kidneys and bones, weakening them over years. And here's the twist. These aren't rare, accidental cases. Multiple popular chocolate brands, the ones you probably have in your pantry right now, were flagged. But the danger doesn't stop at metals. Hidden behind the glossy advertisements are darker truths: child labor, unsafe farming practices, and deforestation. So let's dig in and expose the 7 big chocolate names under fire. Number 1, Hershey's. Hershey's is more than just a chocolate bar, it's an American icon. For decades, it has been marketed as the taste of happiness and childhood. Whether it's gooey s'mores roasted over a campfire, tiny bite-sized bars handed out during Halloween, or the classic chocolate bar tucked into a child's lunchbox, Hershey's is everywhere. It's comfort, it's nostalgia, it feels safe. But in 2025, a troubling truth came to light that completely changed how many people viewed this beloved brand. Consumer Reports conducted a detailed investigation into several dark chocolate products, and Hershey's Special Dark was among them. The findings shocked millions of chocolate lovers. Lab tests revealed that Hershey's Special Dark Chocolate contained nearly 1 microgram of lead and about 0.7 micrograms of cadmium per serving. At first glance, those numbers may not mean much. But here's why it matters. Both lead and cadmium are classified as toxic heavy metals. Even in small amounts, when consumed regularly, they can accumulate in the body and cause long-term damage. Lead exposure has been linked to neurological damage, cognitive decline, learning disabilities in children, and even kidney issues in adults. Cadmium, on the other hand, is known for damaging the kidneys, weakening bones, and increasing the risk of cancer after prolonged exposure. Put simply, what seems like a harmless piece of chocolate could over time be doing serious harm to the very people who trust it the most: children and families. And the story doesn't end there. While the health concerns made headlines, another dark side of Hershey's operations began resurfacing. In New York, a class action lawsuit was filed against the company, accusing Hershey's of failing to warn customers about these dangerous metal levels. But beyond the courtroom, human rights investigations exposed something even more disturbing. Hershey's cocoa supply chains were allegedly linked to farms in West Africa where children worked under brutal conditions. Reports described kids as young as 12 carrying sacks heavier than their own body weight, exposed to harmful pesticides without protection and forced to work long hours for very little pay. These are not the images you see in Hershey's cheerful commercials filled with laughter, families, and joy. The brand that sells happiness and innocence was quietly connected to practices that are anything but innocent. So, what does this mean for consumers? Hershey still smiles at you from store shelves, wrapped in shiny foil and childhood nostalgia. But now, that smile feels more like a mask, hiding a bitter truth about health risks and hidden exploitation. Behind the sweetness, there's a story that leaves a far more bitter aftertaste. Number 2. Godiva. When people hear the name Godiva, the first image that comes to mind is pure elegance. Golden boxes tied with silky ribbons, a gift that instantly feels special. For decades, Godiva has been marketed as the ultimate symbol of luxury in chocolate form, something you buy not just to eat, but to impress, to celebrate, or to say, "You're special." It's romance, sophistication, and indulgence, all wrapped in shiny packaging. But in 2025, reports surfaced that shattered this perfect image. Independent lab tests revealed disturbing results in some of Godiva's most popular products. The brand's 72% dark chocolate bar and even some of its famous truffles were found to contain lead levels above the safety threshold set by California's Proposition 65 law. Now, here's why that matters. Proposition 65 is one of the strictest consumer safety regulations in the United States. If a product fails there, it's not just a small oversight, it's a serious warning. And in this case, the warning was about lead, a heavy metal that has no safe level of exposure. Lead is not like sugar or caffeine, something you can consume in moderation. Even trace amounts, over time, can build up in the body and cause irreversible damage. In children, it can lower IQ, reduce attention span, and cause developmental delays. In adults, it can trigger memory loss, harm the kidneys, and increase the risk of cardiovascular disease. For pregnant women, lead exposure can be devastating, potentially affecting the brain development of the unborn child.
And just when you think that's bad enough,
there's more. Investigations into cocoa supply chains revealed that Godiva's chocolate was connected to West African farms where child labor was present. Reports describe children as young as 12 working long hours in dangerous conditions, some of them handling pesticides with bare hands, others carrying sacks of cocoa so heavy they left permanent injuries. This is a far cry from the polished image Godiva sells in glossy ads. Their commercials tell us about luxury with care. But behind the scenes, those golden boxes may be tied not only with ribbons, but also with hidden risks and silent exploitation. So here's the uncomfortable truth. Godiva may shine on the outside, but what's inside that golden wrapper carries dangers most consumers never expected. Number 3. Lindt. When you think of Lindt, you think of elegance, smoothness, and indulgence. Their iconic gold foil bunnies at Easter, the delicate truffles that melt in your mouth, and the glossy advertisements featuring master chocolatiers in crisp white uniforms. All of it builds the image of perfection. Lindt isn't just selling chocolate, it's selling a promise of luxury and craftsmanship. But beneath the golden packaging and silky texture lies a troubling reality. In recent testing, Consumer Watchdog uncovered something alarming in Lindt's 85% Excellence Dark Chocolate Bar. This product, proudly marketed as a healthier, richer choice for true chocolate lovers, contained nearly 1 microgram of cadmium per serving. That might not sound like much, but here's the dangerous part. Cadmium doesn't just pass through your system the way sugar does. It stays. it lodges itself in your kidneys and bones, slowly accumulating over time. Years of small exposures can lead to kidney damage, weakened bones, and a higher risk of certain cancers. The worst part? You may never notice until the damage is already done. And this isn't an isolated case. For chocolate fans who switch to darker varieties believing they're making a healthier choice, it's a bitter twist. The very chocolate advertised as premium and better for you may be quietly undermining your health. But Lindt's issues don't stop at heavy metals. While their commercials whisper about wellness, elegance, and joy, investigative reports have pointed to a much darker truth in their supply chain. Cocoa suppliers linked to Lindt have been accused of child exploitation and deforestation in West Africa. Workers described stories of low pay, long hours, and dangerous working conditions. Some children were reported carrying sacks of cocoa heavier than their own body weight or handling machetes with little protection. At the same time, deforestation driven by cocoa farming has devastated ecosystems, destroying habitats for endangered species and worsening climate change. So while Lindt may shine on the outside with its luxurious packaging and silky marketing, the inside tells another story. A mix of toxicity, exploitation, and injustice. The reality is clear. The luxury you see isn't always the luxury you get. Brand number 4, Ghirardelli. Step inside a Ghirardelli shop and you're instantly transported into a world of nostalgia and indulgence. Visitors are greeted with free chocolate samples, the aroma of cocoa fills the air, and walls are lined with shiny squares wrapped in gold, silver, and deep colors. For generations, Ghirardelli has been more than just a chocolate. It's been part of San Francisco's identity. Tourists and locals alike treat a stop at Ghirardelli Square as a tradition, a celebration of history and heritage wrapped in sweetness. But by 2025, cracks began to appear in that carefully polished image. Independent lab tests uncovered troubling results in one of Ghirardelli's flagship products, its 86% intense dark chocolate squares. These were the chocolates marketed as rich, pure, and healthier because of their higher cocoa content. Yet tests showed that these bars contained cadmium levels dangerously close to, and sometimes even exceeding, international safety thresholds. Cadmium is not the kind of risk you can shrug off. Unlike sugar or caffeine, it doesn't leave your body quickly. Instead, it lingers. It hides in your kidneys, bones, and tissues, slowly building up year after year. The danger is that the damage isn't immediate. You don't eat a square of chocolate and suddenly feel sick. But over time, cadmium exposure can lead to kidney disease, weakened bones, brittle teeth, and a compromised immune system. By the time the symptoms show up, the harm is already deeply rooted. And just when customers thought that was shocking enough, another layer of darkness was revealed. Investigative journalists traced Ghirardelli's cocoa back to farming regions in West Africa, where illegal deforestation was rampant. Protected forests in Ghana, rich with biodiversity, wildlife, and vital ecosystems, were cleared to make room for cocoa plantations. Local communities reported disappearing wildlife, worsening soil, and the collapse of resources they once depended on. This means that the sweet indulgence of Ghirardelli, marketed as heritage chocolate with a proud legacy, was being paid for by distant communities and fragile forests. While customers in San Francisco smiled with chocolate squares in hand, thousands of miles away, families and ecosystems bore the cost of that indulgence. The story of Ghirardelli reminds us that even brands rooted in history and tradition aren't always what they seem. Behind the nostalgic charm lies a bitter truth, one where both human health and the environment pay the hidden price of sweetness. Quick pause here. If you're still watching this video and finding it eye-opening, then do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button right now. Here on BizWorld Explorer, we bring you stories that big corporations don't want you to hear. From hidden dangers in food to shocking business practices, you deserve to know the truth. So subscribe and join our community of explorers, because the journey doesn't end here.
Brand number 5.
Nestlé. When you think of Nestlé, you think of comfort and family. For decades, this global giant has been tied to some of the sweetest moments of childhood. Freshly baked cookies made with Nestlé Toll House chocolate chips, steaming mugs of hot cocoa on a winter night, or snack-sized bars tucked into lunchboxes during holidays. Nestlé isn't just a company, it's practically a household tradition, woven into family rituals across the world. But beneath the warm and familiar image lies a very different reality. In a review conducted by the FDA, Nestlé's popular Toll House dark chocolate chips were found to contain lead levels exceeding 1 microgram per serving. That number may sound small, but among mainstream chocolate products, it was one of the highest levels recorded. Lead is not something the human body can safely process. It accumulates over time, and its effects can be devastating. Children are the most vulnerable. Long-term lead exposure can cause reduced IQ, developmental delays, and behavioral issues. Pregnant women face risks too, as lead can pass to the unborn child, potentially harming brain development. Even adults aren't safe. Chronic exposure has been linked to memory loss, fatigue, kidney issues, and cognitive decline. The scary part? You don't notice the damage right away. It builds quietly until the harm is done.
And if the health risks weren't enough,
Nestlé's supply chain has been stained by deeply troubling ethical concerns. Investigations in Brazil uncovered reports of forced labor and debt bondage on cocoa farms linked to Nestlé's suppliers. Workers described being trapped in cycles of poverty, earning barely $2 a day while living in tin shacks without proper sanitation or safety measures. For many, the conditions resembled modern slavery more than fair employment. This is a jarring contrast. On the one hand, Nestlé presents itself as the brand of family comfort, the company you trust for holiday baking and cozy moments. On the other hand, the reality shows a pattern of consumer health risks and worker exploitation that few families would knowingly support. So it raises a powerful question. If the sweetness of a chocolate chip cookie comes at the expense of someone else's dignity or even your own health, what kind of legacy does that leave for a company as powerful as Nestlé?
brand number 6.
Dove. Dove chocolates are designed to feel like more than just candy. They're marketed as silky, smooth, and comforting, a moment of calm in the chaos of everyday life. The company even wraps each piece in foil, lined with uplifting little messages, like tiny notes of encouragement waiting for you at the end of a long day. For millions of people, especially women, Dove is positioned as more than chocolate, it's marketed as self-care in a wrapper. But in 2025, that image was shattered. Independent tests revealed that Dove's 70% dark chocolate contained unsafe levels of lead and cadmium. Both are toxic heavy metals that, when consumed over time, can damage the nervous system, impair kidney function, and even increase cancer risk. For a brand that built its reputation on comfort, healing, and balance, the irony was brutal. The very product meant to soothe could actually harm. The revelation caused immediate backlash. Social media lit up, with consumers questioning how such a trusted name could let this happen. Parents who had occasionally shared Dove's dark chocolate with their children felt betrayed. Health-conscious consumers who had chosen dark chocolate for its supposed benefits, antioxidants, heart health, and lower sugar, were left wondering if they had unknowingly been putting themselves at risk.
And the controversy didn't stop there.
Dove's parent company, Mars, faced a lawsuit in Illinois, accusing them of misleading marketing. The suit alleged that Mars deliberately positioned Dove as a healthier, more mindful indulgence while knowing about the risks of heavy metals in its products. Instead of transparency, critics argued, the company chose to hide behind comforting taglines and sleek advertising. For many loyal buyers, this was a breaking point. It raised uncomfortable questions not only about Dove, but about the entire chocolate industry. If even a premium brand marketed as balance and self-care could be unsafe, what about the cheaper options lining supermarket shelves? Who can consumers trust when the brands they rely on for small moments of comfort turn out to be hiding serious risks? At its core, the Dove scandal highlights a larger problem: the gap between marketing promises and food safety realities. We often buy with emotion, drawn to the idea of comfort, happiness, and a little escape. But when the product itself is compromised, all the clever packaging and motivational quotes in the world can't cover up the truth. So the question remains, if even your comfort chocolate can't be trusted, where do you turn for something truly safe?
Brand number 7.
Theo Chocolate. Let's talk about Theo Chocolate, often called the ethical chocolate brand. Theo built its reputation on being different from the mainstream. Unlike other candy companies, Theo marketed itself as organic, fair trade, and artisanal. It wasn't just chocolate, it was a statement. Buying a Theo bar was supposed to mean you were making a conscious choice. A choice that helped small farmers, a choice that supported sustainability, a choice that was better for the planet and for your health. But what happens when the brand that promises to be ethical is caught in the same trap as the rest? That's exactly what happened when Consumer Reports tested several dark chocolate bars. Shockingly, Theo's 85% dark chocolate bar ranked among the worst offenders for heavy metal contamination, specifically cadmium. For context, cadmium is a toxic heavy metal linked to kidney damage, bone weakening, and even cancer when consumed in high amounts over time. It's the kind of chemical no consumer expects to find in a product marketed as healthy and pure. The irony couldn't be sharper. Customers had willingly paid more for Theo's chocolate, believing they were buying something safer and more responsible. But instead, they were faced with the same hidden dangers found in cheaper mass-market options. To many, it felt like betrayal.
And the situation only got worse when people demanded answers.
Critics, health advocates, and concerned buyers asked Theo for transparency. They wanted to see verified lab results, concrete action plans, or at least a clear explanation of how the company would fix this issue. But instead of offering hard evidence, Theo gave vague reassurances, promises of commitment, statements of values. Words that sounded nice but lacked substance. For customers who thought they were protecting both their health and their conscience by choosing Theo, this response was deeply unsatisfying. It left them questioning not only Theo, but the very idea of ethical chocolate. And that's the bigger takeaway here, because if even brands like Theo, companies built on trust, ethics, and health, fail to protect consumers, then the issue isn't isolated. It's not about one chocolate bar or one company, it's about the entire industry. Heavy metals in chocolate aren't a branding problem, they're a systemic problem. And until real transparency and accountability exist, no label, organic, fair trade, or ethical, can guarantee safety. So here we are, 7 big names: Godiva, Hershey's, Ghirardelli, Lindt, Nestlé, Dove, and Theo, all caught in the storm of heavy metal contamination, unethical sourcing, and corporate silence. Chocolate was never supposed to be complicated. It was supposed to be joy, celebration, comfort. But now, every bite comes with questions. Is this bar safe for me and my family? Was it made ethically? What forests or workers were sacrificed for my sweet treat? The truth is, These companies thrive because we trust them without asking questions. Our money fuels the system, and unless we demand transparency, nothing will change. But here's the good news. You have power. By supporting ethical brands that provide lab results, by raising awareness, by asking questions, you can force the industry to listen. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about chocolate. It's about health, it's about trust, and it's about the choices we make as consumers. So, I'll leave you with this final question. When was the last time you trusted a brand, only to find out later that trust was misplaced? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this video with someone who loves chocolate, and most importantly, subscribe to BizWorld Explorer. Here, we uncover the truths hidden behind shiny advertisements and colorful packaging. Because in today's world, information is power, and together, we're stronger when we know the truth. This is BizWorld Explorer. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the sweetest things hide the most bitter secrets.